The day my parents handed the family restaurant, the one I scrubbed floors in, burnt my fingers in, and practically lived inside, to my sister's husband, I didn't cry, I didn't scream, I didn't even blink. I just stood there, apron still tied, smelling like garlic and betrayal, while everyone acted like I should clap. But that night, as I wiped down the same counter they stole from me, I made one promise. They'd regret underestimating me. If you're interested in this, Jess, hit the like button, subscribe, and type interested in the comments, and I will give you a heart. I grew up in that restaurant the way some kids grow up in church, quietly, religiously, and with more fear of the elders than actual God. While other children learnt to ride bikes, I was learning to chop onions without crying, greet customers like I wasn't exhausted, and dodge my mum's wooden spoon when she caught me sneaking fried chicken skin from the tray. The restaurant wasn't just a business to me, it was my childhood home, my training ground, my identity. My parents loved to tell people she knows this place better than we do. And I did. I knew which table wobbled, which fryer had a temper, and which customers needed extra napkins before they even asked. I was the kid who grew into the teen, who grew into the woman, who ran the place, while my parents pretended they still managed everything. So imagine the punch to my ribs when they decided to pass the torch, not to me, but to my sister's husband, Ryan, the man who once burned microwave popcorn and blamed the microwave, the man who thought a reduction was shrinking the portion size, the man who didn't even like the restaurant business. That man got the family restaurant. I got silence. We thought this would be good for the family, my mum said, palms pressed together like she was breaking bad news in a telenovela. He has leadership qualities, my dad added, which was hilarious because Ryan once got fired from a smoothie bar for creating unnecessary chaos. I stared at both of them, trying to understand if this was a prank. Maybe my sister would jump out holding a camera, yelling, "Got you!" But no. They were serious, dead serious. My sister, Claire, kept giving me sympathetic glances. Those eyes that said, "I didn't ask for this." But her smirk said, "But I'm not giving it back." So, I finally said, voice flat, "Let me get this straight. I gave this restaurant 16 years of my life. He married into the family 18 months ago, and you're giving him the business?" My dad cleared his throat. It's not personal. That was my breaking point, because when someone says it's not personal, it's always personal. So what is it then, I asked. Business? Opportunity, Ryan chimed in. He actually chimed like he was adding seasoning to the conversation. Your parents want to modernize the place, expand, grow. They think I have the vision. Vision, I repeated. You got lost walking to the stockroom? He opened his mouth to reply, but I was done. My mother sighed dramatically as if I was the difficult one. Honey, you're passionate, but you're not strategic. I blinked hard. The girl who turned a failing menu item into the restaurant's bestseller wasn't strategic. The girl who renegotiated with suppliers and saved them thousands wasn't strategic. The girl who did everything but signed the payroll checks wasn't strategic. No, let's call this what it was. Favoritism in a tuxedo. And Claire's husband was wearing the tuxedo. My parents started listing reasons. He has new ideas. He's a man. He can handle stress. He can bring structure. Every excuse sliced deeper. But the worst part wasn't just the betrayal. It was the way they justified it. Like I should thank them for stabbing me politely. So I nodded. Slowly. Calmly. Too calmly? Okay, I said, watching all of them relax, thinking I'd finally accepted their decision like a good little daughter. Then I added, I quit. My mum's mouth fell open. What? You can't quit? My dad's brow furrowed. This is your home. No, I said, taking off my apron. This was my training ground. You made it clear it's not my future. Ryan shifted uncomfortably. Good, he should sweat. Claire looked torn, guilt slicing through her face, but not enough to change anything. Where will you go? My mum asked, voice trembling, like I'd threatened to jump off a cliff. I shrugged. anywhere that's not here. I left them standing there, stunned, confused, and suddenly very aware they'd lost the only person who kept the restaurant from collapsing every weekend. But I didn't slam the door, I didn't cry, I didn't throw a dramatic tantrum. I walked out with the same poise they always said I lacked. And as I stepped into the cool night air, the scent of garlic, roasted chicken, and betrayal still in my hair, something inside me clicked. A fire. A direction, a refusal to let their decision define me. I didn't know where I was going, but I knew I wasn't going backward. I walked 2 blocks before I finally exhaled. My phone buzzed, messages from Claire, from Mum, from Dad, all asking me to come back. I ignored them. I needed something they never gave me, space. For the first time in my life, I let myself imagine a different version of me, not the daughter who stayed, not the worker who obeyed, not the backup plan. A builder, a creator, a boss, someone who didn't inherit the kitchen, but built her own empire. And that night, the idea that would change my entire life started forming like dough rising in a warm room. Not theirs, mine. I woke up the next morning with that strange, disorienting feeling you get after a life-shifting event. For a moment, I forgot I'd quit. I forgot they'd handed my restaurant to the world's most confused man-child. I forgot the betrayal sitting in my chest like an overcooked dumpling. But then my phone buzzed, and reality returned like a frying pan to the face. 17 missed messages, 5 from Mum, 4 from Dad, 8 from Claire, 1 from Ryan, which I refused to open on principle. The family group chat looked like a crime scene. Honey, come home so we can talk. We didn't mean to hurt you. It was a business decision. Please don't make this dramatic. That last one was from my mother, which was rich considering she once cried in public because her favourite restaurant ran out of ravioli. Claire's messages were gentler, full of guilt and apology emojis. And Ryan's message, 1 line. We can still work together if you want. I laughed so hard I nearly choked on my own bitterness. Work with him? What would I do? Hold his hand while he tried to spell sous chef? Show him how to turn on the dishwasher without flooding the kitchen like last Thanksgiving? No, thank you. I tossed my phone aside and stared at the ceiling. For the first time in years, I had no shift to get to. No orders to prep, no parents to call sir and ma'am without actually meaning it. No managers barking at me, no customers snapping their fingers like they were summoning a genie. I should have felt free, but instead my chest felt strangely empty, lost. Because as much as I hated how they treated me, that restaurant had been my identity. Without it, who was I? A question I didn't want to answer yet. So I did what any rational, emotionally wounded woman would do. I cleaned my entire apartment in silence like I was scrubbing betrayal off every surface. It didn't help. The anger stayed, the bitterness boiled, and the humiliation clung to me like the smell of fried fish after a lunch rush. Around noon, I finally changed clothes and stepped outside. I didn't have a plan, I just needed air. I walked without thinking, feet carrying me through streets I'd memorized from childhood. The neighborhood was the same, cars honking, people shouting, kids running, cafe smells drifting through the air. But everything felt different because I was different. And somehow that made the world wider, scarier and more exciting all at once. I wandered past a new bakery, a thrift store, a tiny flower shop, and then, completely by accident, I found myself standing across from their restaurant. The one my parents just gifted away like it was a free sample at Costco. I froze. The sign still hung above the door, faded but familiar. The smell of grilled chicken drifted out the front. Ryan stood inside, waving his arms around like he was directing an orchestra no one asked to hear. My father hovered behind him, nodding, pretending Ryan's nonsense made sense. My mother walked toward the kitchen, looking stressed and frazzled. She always managed the emotions even when she caused them. Customers filed in and out. Life moved on without me. The realization hit me like cold water. A place that took everything from me didn't even pause when I left. Didn't stumble, didn't fall apart, didn't miss me. That was the moment something inside me snapped, not in anger, but in clarity. If I stayed in their shadow, I would always be the backup, the helper, the one who kept the place running while someone else got the credit. But if I'd built something of my own, something with my name, something no one could take away, then I wouldn't just be free. I'd be unstoppable. The idea returned, the one that sparked in me the night before, rising like dough in a warm oven. My own kitchen, my own recipes, my own brand, my own empire, my own everything. And just like that, the fear in my chest melted into determination. A fire lit in my stomach, a vision formed itself. Messy, chaotic, thrilling. My restaurant, not a hand-me-down, not an inheritance, not a consolation prize, mine. Of course, the practical part of my brain snapped awake. A restaurant? In this economy, with my savings, with zero support from the people who should have believed in me first? And then I remembered. I'd run one restaurant for years without the title. I had the skill, the discipline, the experience, the grit. What I needed wasn't permission, it was a plan. And as if fate heard me thinking, my phone buzzed again. A message from Jonas Moores, a former co-worker who left 2 years ago to work at a new bar. A man who always said, if you ever start your own kitchen, call me first. His message read, heard what happened. If you need a sous chef, I'm in. My heart kicked. He didn't even know I was thinking about starting something. He just offered, without hesitation, without condition, without questioning my worth. I stared at the message for a long moment. Then I typed back, meet me in an hour? His reply came 3 seconds later, name the place. I smiled. Not the polite smile I wore at the restaurant. Not the I'm fine smile I gave my parents. A real smile. Because maybe, just maybe this wasn't the end. Maybe it was the beginning I never thought I'd get. I turned away from my parents' restaurant without looking back, without guilt, without hesitation. Because their decision didn't destroy me, it freed me. And as I walked toward the cafe where I would meet Jonas, I felt the truth settle in my bones. I didn't lose the restaurant that day. I outgrew it. And the empire I was about to build would make theirs look like a snack stand. Jonas was already sitting at the cafe when I arrived, tapping his fingers on the table like he was running kitchen orders in his head. Same sharp eyes, same restless energy, same I'm ready to build something vibe that made everyone trust him instantly. When he saw me, he stood up with a grin that wasn't pity, wasn't hesitation, wasn't judgment, just excitement. So, he said, sliding me a coffee the exact way I like it. I heard you walked out in the middle of dinner rush. Technically, I said, sitting down, I walked out before dinner rush. I'm dramatic, not cruel. He laughed, loud, without shame. And God, it felt good. Because the last 24 hours had been filled with carefully measured emotions. Hurt, confusion, betrayal. Jonas's laugh cracked that open like a window letting in air. Tell me everything, he said. So I did. I told him how my parents sat me down, like they were announcing a major family achievement, how they handed my legacy to my sister's Google-dependent husband, how they justified it with empty buzzwords like vision and strategy and family direction, and how I walked out with dignity they didn't expect me to have. Jonas didn't interrupt, not once. When I finished, he leaned back and said, "Good. They never deserved you." Something loosened in my chest. You think I'm overreacting? No, he said. I think you're underreacting. If it were me, I would set the place on fire. I snorted. Tempting. But illegal, he added, sadly. Then he leaned in, elbows on the table. So, tell me, what do you want now? No one had asked me that, not my parents, not my sister, not Ryan, not even myself. I inhaled. I want a restaurant, I said. My own. Small, cozy, mine. Jonas nodded like he'd been expecting that answer. Okay, then that's what we'll do. We, I repeated. If you'll have me, he said. You know I work best when I'm building, not following whatever corporate nonsense people call leadership. And I've seen you run a kitchen with nothing but stubbornness and a broken fryer. You're the real deal. Heat rose in my cheeks. Not romantic, but validating. But we need a space, I said. We need equipment, we need permits, we need money. We'll figure it out, he said confidently. Won't be easy, but it'll be ours. That word ours sparked something deep, because when your own family takes something from you, the world feels cold, small, closed. But one person believing in you cracks the door open again. Jonas pulled out a notebook. Let's start simple. What's the concept? Comfort food, I said instantly, but elevated. The stuff people grew up with, but reimagined. Food that feels like home, but tastes like heaven. So emotional cuisine, he teased. Food therapy. Exactly, I said, grinning. That's our slogan. Perfect, he said, writing it down. Location? Somewhere walkable, I said. Somewhere with foot traffic, but not too expensive. Somewhere that feels like the neighborhood I grew up in. Budget, I exhaled. Small. Small, define small. Small. He laughed again. We'll make it work. And just like that, something rare happened. We started brainstorming like equals. Not like I was the assistant chef. Not like I was the daughter filling whatever role my parents didn't want. Not like I was the person stuck cleaning up after other people's messes. I was the boss. And it felt right. After an hour, Jonas flipped the notebook shut. We need to scout locations, he said. Today? I asked, surprised. Yes, today, he said. Strike while your rage is fresh. So we walked. The city was buzzing. Stores opening, cars honking, people rushing. But for the first time, I felt like I wasn't drifting through it. I was carving into it. Block after block, we found spaces that were too expensive, too big, too abandoned, too cursed. Nothing fit. Until we turned onto a quiet street I'd never bothered to explore. And there it was, a small storefront. Empty, clean, windows large enough to showcase warmth. A little handwritten sign taped to the inside that said Felice Inque within. This is it, Jonas said immediately. I knew it too. My heart recognized the space before my brain did. Let's go inside, he said. The landlord was an older woman with silver hair and bright eyes, wearing a sweater that screamed tea drinker and a smile that didn't feel like it hid anything. Restaurant? She asked after we told her what we wanted. You're the third today. My stomach dropped. Third? Lots of interest, she said. This street has been growing. People want neighborhood charm again. She looked me up and down. Why you? It wasn't rude, it was direct, honest. I liked her immediately. Because, I said, standing straighter, I've run a restaurant since I was a kid. I know food, I know customers, I know kitchens, and I have something to prove. Her eyebrow lifted. To who? Myself, I said before I could second guess it. Jonas glanced at me like that was the moment he knew we'd get the place. The landlord didn't smile. She didn't nod. She didn't do the fake encouragement thing people do when they don't believe you. She just said, let me show you the kitchen. The space wasn't perfect. It wasn't shiny. It wasn't polished. But it had bones, character, potential. Everything I'd ever wanted in a place to build from scratch. When we finished the walkthrough, she crossed her arms. I like your answer, she said, and I like your energy. Hope fluttered in my chest. So, if you want the place, she said, it's yours. I blinked, just like that. Not just like that, she said. But yes, like that. Jonas fist bumped the air like we just scored the winning point, and I just stood there, stunned, overwhelmed, emotional. Because this wasn't inherited, this wasn't handed to me, this wasn't stolen from someone else. It was mine because I earned it. We signed preliminary paperwork, shook hands, thanked her 20 times, and walked out into the sunlight with the lease copy in my bag. Jonas slung an arm over my shoulders. Congrats, he said. You're officially a restaurant owner. And in that moment, I felt something powerful. something I never felt while working for my parents. Pride. Real, unfiltered, unborrowed pride. But just as the excitement settled into my bones, my phone buzzed again. A message from my sister. "We need to talk." "It's about the restaurant. It's urgent." I stared at the screen, pulse quickening. Was this about Ryan messing up? My parents panicking? Something worse? Jonas peered over my shoulder. "You going to open that?" I swallowed hard. "No," I said, "not yet. Because they took my past. But my future? They weren't touching that." By the time I reached my apartment, the adrenaline from securing the lease had fully shifted into a buzzing, unstoppable current running through my entire body. It was the first time in my life that excitement and fear didn't cancel each other out, they fueled each other. But the moment I sat down, my phone lit up again with Claire's messages, all stacked, one after another, like tiny panic rockets. "Call me ASAP. It's about the restaurant. Please don't ignore me. This is serious. For someone who inherited the business, she sure seemed terrified." I dropped my bag, sat on the couch and stared at the screen, deciding whether to open the messages or pretend my battery died forever. Jonas texted too. "Everything okay? Need me to come over?" I typed back, "I'm good, sister drama." He replied instantly, "Let me know if I need to bring popcorn." That made me laugh, but I wasn't ready to dive into family chaos yet. I needed a moment to breathe, to soak in the fact that today, I had taken the first step toward my own empire. Still, curiosity is a dangerous thing, especially when it's mixed with a dash of petty satisfaction. I opened Claire's messages and immediately regretted it. Mum and Dad are freaking out. The restaurant is a mess. Ryan is overwhelmed. Customers are complaining. Dad yelled at 3 people. "We need you to come back, please." I read the last message twice. Come back. Come back to the place that replaced me. Come back to fix problems they created. Come back and save the business they stole. The audacity of it all. My fingers hovered over the keyboard, scrolling up and down through her messages. Part of me felt a flicker of satisfaction, like maybe the universe was confirming something. They needed me more than they ever admitted. But the old version of me, the one who stayed, who appeased, who solved everything for everyone, was gone, replaced by someone new, someone who had a lease in her bag and a fire in her chest. I typed carefully, letting every word land like a plate hitting the table a little too hard. "I'm not coming back," she responded immediately. "You don't understand, it's chaos here." I smirked. Not my chaos. A full 3 minutes passed before her next reply came through. "Dad said if you cared about this family at all, you'd help." I rolled my eyes so hard I probably saw the inside of my brain. Family. They loved using that word when it benefited them. Funny how family didn't matter the day they handed my future to a man who couldn't even slice tomatoes evenly. I texted back, "If he cared about this family, he wouldn't have thrown me away like leftovers." There was no response after that, not for a long time. Good. I needed the silence. I turned my attention to the lease papers again, tracing the edges with my fingertips. My restaurant. My space. It didn't even have a name yet, but I could already picture it. Warm lighting, shelves of ingredients, soft music humming through the air, a place where people came to feel something, to taste nostalgia, to experience comfort. And the menu? Oh, I had ideas, dishes I'd wanted to make, but my parents always rejected because customers don't like change, even though customers loved anything that tasted good. Jonas texted again. "I found second-hand equipment listings. Want links?" I sent him a thumbs up, and before I could put my phone down, another message came through, this time from an unknown number. "We need to talk. Call me." Then another, "It's about your parents." Then a third, "It's important." I frowned. The number looked familiar, but I couldn't place it. 5 seconds later, a fourth message came. "It's Ryan." And just like that, my entire body tensed. The last person I wanted to speak to. but I was too curious to ignore it. I blocked the number immediately, no hesitation, and 2 seconds later, Claire texted again from her own phone. "Did you block him?" I answered with one word, "Absolutely." Silence again. But this time, it felt like control. Like I finally held the power I never had growing up. Dinner time came and went without me noticing. I'd spent hours sketching layouts, calculating costs, listing menu ideas, and searching for suppliers. Every step made the vision sharper. Every detail strengthened my conviction. And just when I thought the night would end on a peaceful note, my doorbell rang. Not a soft ring, not a polite ring, a long, aggressive, "I know you're home" kind of ring. My heart skipped. I approached the door slowly, careful, controlled, peeping through the peephole. Voice of the universe. Guess who? Standing there, looking like anxiety in human form, was Claire, no coat, no umbrella, despite the sprinkle of rain outside, hair frizzy, eyes panicked, and holding a plastic bag like it was an offering. I opened the door, keeping my foot behind it in case she tried to push her way in. "What are you doing here?" I asked flatly. She lifted the bag. "Mum made food." "I don't want it." "I know," she whispered, but she insisted. She said you never eat when you're upset. I wanted to stay angry. I wanted to stay cold. But Claire wasn't the enemy. She was a pawn, a puppet, a person who lived under the same roof, under the same favoritism structure, just on the privileged side of it. "What do you want?" I asked. She swallowed hard. "They can't handle it." "Handle what?" She hesitated for one long second too many. "Everything." Her voice cracked. Dad's yelling at customers, Mum's crying, Ryan burned half the prep, and someone, she paused, someone left a 1-star review saying the restaurant fell apart the moment the real chef left. My stomach flipped. Not from guilt, from something sharper. Justice, Claire continued. They're scared, okay? They don't know what to do without you. I leaned against the door frame. That's the thing, Claire. They never knew what to do with me either. She looked away, blinking fast. I'm not asking you to save them. I'm asking you to hear them out. Why? Because, she whispered, they're terrified you're building something better. My pulse jumped. Where'd they hear that? She hesitated again. Ryan overheard you talking to Jonas at the cafe. My stomach clenched. So Ryan's spying now? No, he was just nearby, sure, I said with a scoff. Claire wrung the plastic bag in her hands. Please, just talk to them. I shook my head. I'm done talking. She looked defeated, fully deflated. But then she looked up at me with a strange expression, fear mixed with awe. What are you going to do now? She asked quietly. I met her eyes. What I should have done years ago. I stepped back, gently closed the door and let the lock click into place. Behind it, I could hear her soft, broken whisper. They have no idea what's coming. And she was absolutely right. The next morning hit like a drum roll, loud, sharp, and promising something big. I woke up to sunlight pouring through the blinds, illuminating the leased papers on my table like the universe had highlighted them itself. It still didn't feel real. My restaurant, my rules, my vision, my freedom. But as I brewed my coffee, I felt a different energy in the air. A shift, a warning. An electric hum underneath my skin. My phone buzzed nonstop. Jonas, equipment seller confirmed. We can pick up the stove this afternoon. The landlord, lease finalised, come by for the keys. 3 suppliers. We'd love to work with you. And then my father, a long, heavy message, too heavy, one that looked like it had been typed by someone pacing back and forth. I didn't open it, not yet. Instead, I grabbed my bag and headed out. Today was the first real day of building my empire. Jonas met me outside the new place, holding 2 coffees, one for him, one for me. Ready? He asked, eyes shining like a kid about to break into a candy store. More than ready, I said. The landlord handed me the keys with a smile that felt strangely symbolic. Take care of this place, she said. Spaces remember the people who build them. I tucked the keys into my pocket and felt something powerful settle into my bones. Ownership, purpose, a future no one could take from me this time. We spent hours inside, measuring countertops, sketching layouts, stepping into invisible future moments. Jonas talked through equipment needs, staff structure, potential menu items, and marketing ideas. But while we worked, something kept nagging at me, a sense that a storm was brewing behind me. I finally checked my father's message, and for the first time in years, I saw fear in his words. "We need you to come home tonight. Your mother hasn't stopped crying. The restaurant is struggling. Ryan is overwhelmed. Customers are complaining. People keep asking what happened to the good one." He ended with, "We didn't realize how important you were until now. Please, just talk to us." I stared at the screen. This was the closest thing to an apology I'd ever gotten from him. But it wasn't because he finally respected me. It was because he needed me. Again, just like always. Jonas noticed my expression. "Let me guess. They're panicking." "More than panicking," I muttered. "They want me to come talk." "Are you going?" "Absolutely not." "Good," he said. "You're done playing janitor to their mess." But a tiny part of me, very tiny, felt a tug. Not because I wanted to save them, but because I wanted closure. So much of my life had been shaped by trying to earn their approval. And now, with everything shifting, I wanted to hear the truth face to face. I wanted to see them look me in the eye and understand exactly what they'd lost. "I'll go," I said finally, "but not for them. For me." Jonas nodded. "Then I'm coming with you." "Jonas? No. You're not walking into that lion's den alone. Besides, I want to see their faces when they realize you're not theirs to control anymore. You really enjoying this, huh?" "Absolutely." We locked up and headed out. By the time we reached my parents' house, the sun had dipped low, casting long shadows across the porch. The moment we knocked, the door swung open. My mother rushed toward me like she'd been pacing the entire day. "Sweetheart!" She reached for me, but I stepped back. "Gently, firmly, we need to talk," I said. Dad stood behind her, arms stiff, jaw tight. The same look he wore whenever someone questioned his authority, except now his eyes flicked to Jonas, then back to me, uncertain. "Come in," he said. We sat at the kitchen table. The same table where they'd taken everything from me. Except this time, I wasn't the powerless daughter sitting beneath their expectations. I was the woman who owned a restaurant, who had a partner, who had a future. "We made a mistake," my mother said softly. "A terrible one." Dad cleared his throat. "The restaurant isn't the same without you." "Customers are leaving," Claire added from the doorway. "Reviews are bad. People keep asking for you," Mum said. "And Ryan, he's having trouble managing." Emotion flickered across her face. "Shame, maybe? Finally." "We want you back," Dad said. "We'll give you your old position, more responsibility, more say." I leaned back. "My old position? The one where I run everything but get credited for nothing?" He shifted. Mum said quickly, "We can talk about titles." "Mum," I said calmly, "I don't want my old job." Dad's jaw tightened. "Then what do you want?" "Nothing," I said simply. "I've moved on." Confusion spread across the room like smoke. "Moved on," Claire repeated. "To what?" I took a breath. "My own restaurant." Silence. Thick, heavy, suffocating. Then my father's face did something I had never seen. It crumpled. Not in anger, in shock. He looked like a man who built a prison only to realize he'd locked himself inside it. "You started your own?" Mumbling, he said, "Without us, especially without you." "But why?" he whispered. I stood tall, spine straight, voice steady. "Because you taught me something. Not the lesson you intended, but the one I needed. If I stay in your shadow, I will always be the helper, the extra hands, the family labor. I deserve more than that. I earned more than that." My mother covered her mouth, tears welling. "We didn't mean to." "You did," I said gently. "But it's okay, because you pushed me towards something better." My father's voice cracked. Can't you give us another chance? I am, I said, by letting you learn what life looks like without me holding everything together. Claire wiped a tear. Is this goodbye? No, I said. It's not goodbye. The entire room exhaled. It's the beginning, I finished. For all of us. Your restaurant will learn to survive without me. And mine will finally exist because of me. They didn't clap. They didn't shout. They didn't fight. They just sat there, stunned, absorbing the new reality that the daughter they underestimated had become the woman they'd never expected. Jonas put a hand on my shoulder and whispered, "Ready to go, boss?" I nodded. "Yeah, I am." As we walked out of the house, my father whispered something so quietly I almost missed it. We lost the best thing we ever had. I didn't turn around. I didn't need to, because for once in my life, I knew he was right.